Welcome to the Cork Creative Podcast. With this podcast, we hope to promote local creative businesses and people. I am your host, Geraldine Hennessy from Flux Learning, and today I am joined by Stylist, Michelle Coughlan, in the fittingly stylish mixed co-working in Clonakilty. After studying in the London College of Fashion, Michelle became a fashion buyer for a large retailer. She then moved to the US and fashioned a career as a fashion stylist, where she worked with well-known international brands such as Reebok and Timberland. After starting a family, Michelle returned to Ireland and created her own fully encompassing styling business, where she provides brands with a tailored service of art direction, styling and photography for projects ranging from fashion to food and interiors. She creates stunning images that capture the essence of her clients and their stories. Michelle also provides personal styling, drawing on her extensive knowledge of the fashion industry to ensure her clients look and feel their best. In this episode, we discuss her path to becoming a stylist, working in the US and the return home to Ireland, the importance of networking, the different facets of her work, and her future plans. You're very welcome to Cork Creative, Michelle.
Thanks for having me on here, Geraldine.
Tell us a little about your background and how did you become a stylist?
Well, I suppose my love for fashion began from a really young age. I remember countless outfit changes as a child. My mother would kill me. I'd be dragging boxes out of the attic and it was like shorts in winter. It didn't matter as long as I had 3 or 4 outfit changes a day. And then I remember matching colours with mom and planning her own outfits. And it was kind of that era of power dressing and, the shoulder pads and, the kind of one tone suit. And it was just, I loved it all. But then, you get into school and as I approached leaving cert, I realized there wasn't really any fashion degrees available. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I just went with languages in UCC and I got a part-time job in AWR. Do you remember AWR?
Oh my God, loved it.
Love AWR.
Yeah.
Everyone still reminisces on it. It was just great price point, great quality.
Yeah.
So got a job there and I loved it, trained in visual merchandising and window dressing. And then AWR did a collaboration with Irish designer Peter O'Brien. And I got to go to head office as, represent Cork branch and meet him and meet all the buying team. And then and then I realized how many different jobs there were available in fashion, not just retail, but I kind of really wanted to pursue the buying side of things. But Ireland didn't offer fashion buying degree at the time. So London College of Fashion had one, buying and merchandising. Of course, told mum and dad that I wanted to change from UCC to go study fashion. And they were like, absolutely not. But then I convinced them if I got a place, because it was an interview-based degree. And I was like, if I secure a place, will you let me go? So off I went on that early Ryanair flight.
Oh, gee, Chris,
with the mood board tucked under my arm, because that was part of your interview. And did the presentation, loved where it was. It was in the middle of Oxford Circus.
Yeah.
So surrounded by all the big flagship stores. But then I secured a place and, transitioned that September, went and moved, up sticks to London. And it was an amazing place to study. All the lecturers were from industry. So they either were buyers or merchandisers and some were still working part-time in the industry. Yeah. So all your projects, everything was just really new information. And then I worked part-time in Selfridges, London's one of their largest department stores. And then on the weekends or when I used to come home at Christmas and summer, I worked here locally with Mary O'Regan and Susan.
Yes.
Who is now a client of mine.
Isn't it gas?
Yeah. So kind of came full circle. Yeah. So my next proper job then was with John Store's buying office.
Okay.
I got a fashion buying job there with the Savita buying team. And that was a really steep learning curve. I was there 4 years and it was amazing to see how a garment, goes from being designed right to the shop floor. And it was all dealing with, critical paths with your suppliers in the Far East and Europe and, constant fit checks. And I suppose that's where I honed my eye for detail. You're constantly checking what could be wrong. Are those buttons the buttons we approved on the last sample? Is the stitching correct? Because you're approving huge shipments.
Yes,
and it's all like, based on what sample you approved. So that was an amazing experience. And I also got to assist on their kind of seasonal campaigns, photo shoots. So that's where I kind of saw the role of a stylist. And I was like, that's a really cool job. And I suppose very different because they're generally freelance. So they're working for, a different brand every week. And then Paul, my husband, got offered a transfer to the States. And it's so rare now, like people go to Canada or Australia, but an opportunity to go to the States doesn't come up a lot. So we knew we had to go. We'd no ties, no babies yet, newly married. Although a lot of people were like, did you marry just for the visa?
I know.
So off we went. And I remember we arrived, it was like a Saturday in May and the weather was just getting warm and Paul was straight into work come the Monday. And I was like, I had 3 months to wait for a work permit. I was like, I have a summer off in Boston. It's going to be amazing. But like after day 3 or 4, I was so bored.
Yeah.
I was like, what did I do? I went to yoga a lot in the city.
Yeah.
Tried to like be like, hi, but everyone's just getting to their next thing. And I remember like making fresh pasta at like 11 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. Nearly lost my finger on the like hand blender. And I was like, I really miss home. I miss my career. I was like, what have I done here? And then I was talking to home, obviously, and Dad was like, you should really connect with my friend, Donny O'Leary from Clan. They grew up on the same street. And I met with Donal and he was like, what would you like to do? And I was telling him about my experience in fashion so far. And I was like, I'd love to try styling. And he was like, I have the contact for you. So he knew a lady called Maren Roseman and she's got her own agency in Boston. And she represents about 80 hair and makeup artists, fashion stylists, all for commercial shoots and working everywhere from New York to New Hampshire, like for all the big brands. So it was the really bad snowfall in Boston, their heaviest in years. So all of our meetings kept getting rescheduled. And I was dying to meet this woman, but eventually we met. And I remember I was getting a taxi out there and we were just stalled for so long because of the snow. And like, the fare was going up and up. And I was like, gosh. It doesn't matter. I think it was about $80 or something. I was like, I better get this gig,
Yeah.
Offset this cost. But I met her and she was so lovely and warm. And obviously having the shared connection was great. And she said, I have one question. Do you like steaming clothes,
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll do anything. I was so eager to get started on something again. So anyway, she was just an amazing matchmaker. And my first job was a really funny story. I'm like an hour outside of Boston. Like I'd never really driven in the States. And my biggest worry was actually trying to get to the job in one piece.
Yeah.
And I had to merge onto this massive highway.
Gosh, yeah.
And so I wasn't nervous about the job till I actually got to the car park. And I was like, I have to go in and meet this whole new crew.
Yeah.
So I went in and the stylist that I was assisting, Kim was her name. And she was saying, oh, my husband's Irish. I was like, oh, lovely. Because everyone says that they've got an Irish connection in the States,
Yeah.
But she'd forgotten her purse and her husband walks in and I hear his accent and he's like, you're from Ireland, are you? I said, yeah, Clonakilty. He goes, well, I'm from Timoleague. I couldn't believe it, Geraldine. I was like,
my God.
It was just the nicest, first day ever. And I was like, well, this is super. And I ended up knowing his sister-in-law, who was my beautician growing up in Clon.
Oh my gosh.
And that was the start of a great friendship with us. And we still meet them now back when they come home to Timoleague. They come home about twice a year. And it's like, we reminisce on our time in Boston. And it's lovely to have a shared experience. Yeah. So I assisted a bunch of stylists then for, I suppose, the next year and a half. And those photo shoots opened up a whole world of styling. So it's not just styling models. You were, assisting on food photography and interior photography. You'd be working like on brand campaigns for Reebok in New York or Converse, Timberland, TK Maxx, all these big brands around the Boston area. And I just really wanted to be the lead on these gigs, But that involved building your portfolio. So every weekend, like I collabed with photographers, hair and makeup artists, budding models that just wanted to build their own portfolio. And we used to be on like, Cape Cod shooting like, summer wear. It was just the best fun and a great way of networking.
Yes, yeah.
And then you'd all of a sudden, if you got on well with someone, you'd be hired the following week on like the job. And that was the nice thing about having the agency. Your work was secure for like months out in advance as a freelancer, which is huge. So like having their backing was amazing. And then I built my book and I started getting my own gigs. And one that led me to like Florida styling like swimwear. I was like, I get paid to be on the beach.
Oh my
This is me.
gosh.
And you're seeing part of a new part of these states as well, So it was just so diverse. And like you'd be, styling for an insurance commercial and you'd have to style a family of 5, but also their home. So you'd be hiring like U-Hauls and like filling the whole thing, including the treadmill, the rowing machine. Like the requests that you'd get would be outlandish. And then the budgets were also massive, but it was just like huge exposure. And yeah, like I went to New York Fashion Week a ton then because it was so close. And like Paul, my husband, he's great. He's always saying, you'll never be as close to New York again. You got to go. And I had no ticket my first year. I was out with the media. They thought I was press. And I was just trying to like get a ticket to get inside. But I was like, they're like Gigi Hadid, all these models. I was calling them, trying to get a little picture on my camera.
Oh, you're so...
In like -15, And I was like, and they were all the media then were like, are you going to Milk Studios for the press party? I was like, oh no, but I'll have a great time. But the following like year, I suppose I had then, my book and everything. And when I approached brands for a ticket to the Fashion Week, I got in.
Oh, super.
But it was never as exciting again because you were always thinking about what was going on inside those doors. But it was just another queue.
Yeah, I know.
And then the show was over in 7 minutes.
Oh,
but it was fab. And I attended every one. Yeah, the States was amazing. The neighbors thought I had a shopping addiction because there was constant bags coming in and out of the car and, boxes and then returns. That was a part of the job I hated. And I suppose then you got to hire assistants to do that because and I remember Kim said that like she had a friend of Ted's come over from Clonakilty and the 2 lads did her returns because they got away with it with the Irish accent.
Oh my gosh.
All the salespeople in the shop were like, oh, no problem, honey.
That's so funny.
So that was a part that, wasn't so good. But I knew a prop stylist who had a massive warehouse there. And she used to say that like, their wedding vows with her husband was to have and to hold, to load and unload.
Oh,
because
jeez.
It was so much schlepping of product, One thing that was amazing in Boston, their networking events. There was this event every month called Adhesive & Co. Sticking creatives together was the tagline. Yeah. And you'd go in and you'd literally put on a label, a sticker on your shirt and you say Stylist, and then you'd meet photographers. And I got so many jobs through that. And again, being Irish in Boston was huge. They were like, Michelle, you're great at what you do, but I could listen to you all day on set. That, it didn't hurt.
Yeah.
Still styling was a massive part of what I did over there because companies don't have to pay for the model or the hair and makeup artist. So there's a lot of work in it. So you're styling like a shirt to make it look like that there's a body there. So you're using tissue paper and pins. You're pinning it to a board or line it flat. You could actually just create all day. It was really therapeutic type of work. And then you'd be building stacks. So I've actually also offered brands that side of things because obviously, people are trying to get online, but budgets aren't massive. Yeah. So you don't have to go hiring the models. It's a nice way to show your product without, going to a ton of expense. So yeah, a lot of diverse styling going on in the States. And then of course I had my first baby, Isla, there and everything changed. I suppose we had bought a house. We thought we were set in the States for a good few years anyway. But I knew I wanted to raise my children with, their grannies and cousins back in Clonakilty. So we put the house up for sale and we were home before Paul because of work and we were just back and COVID hit.
Wow, yeah. Yeah. Lucky timing though, wasn't it?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So we moved home to West Cork and, we were in the midst of COVID and I was kind of thinking about what I was going to do now, having a small baby and not wanting to be away from her, but also wanting to continue on my passion for like creating. So I was thinking about how I could do all of that. And I started training up in photography and doing online courses. And I was in touch with photographer friends back in the States, and they were advising me on what camera to get and lenses that would be, I suppose, versatile. I suppose my thought was, if I could offer clients the styling and the photography and have the whole one-stop shop, and I was like locally based, I wouldn't have to travel to studios in Cork and Dublin and be away from my family. I could offer the whole package. So I used that time during COVID, and I remember one of my first jobs was with the local distillery. And it's still one of my favorite images, one of the shots from that campaign. So I suppose I was looking down the lens for like years on set with photographers, and they're setting up a shot and giving you a live feed, and then you're setting the scene. So you're learning about photography all throughout the process as well. So, you know, I was familiar with a lot of it, but it was necessary to kind of train myself and get all the equipment. And yeah, so
I suppose being in set gave you the kind of basics, being around that exposure to photographers gave you the basics, and you just kind of taught yourself the rest as such.
Absolutely.
Through the courses. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, absolutely.
Isn't it kind of funny though? It seems all the different connections and all, it's almost like it was almost meant to be. Wasn't it? Yeah. Like the way, like your dad knew, you know, that man who knew the perfect lady, and then it just seems all like it's a big circle that it was meant to be for you.
Oh, a big time journey. And like, again, it's just, it all comes back to who you know. Yeah. No matter where you go, you know, even like business now, it's all through like word of mouth and people's experience with you. And even in the States, you know, there's so much work, but you have to be able to get on with who you're working and work hard and make a good impression, no matter where you go, you know. But yeah, it was 7 years there, and it was the best time. Ever, and you could work on Sunday. There was so much opportunity.
Okay. So how does working in the US differ from working in Ireland?
I suppose it differs a lot, but there's also similarities, Geraldine. Obviously, the sheer scale of projects and budgets, and there was just a never-ending supply of work in the States. And I had the backing of the agency, so they chased every job. They negotiated all of the fees and chased all the money. And I suppose now that's all me. You know, I market myself. I, you know, negotiate, you know, the different budgets, and you know, you really have to wear all of the hats. And like the crews on those photo shoots could be anything from like up to, you know, 30 people. You've even got just a guy holding the tether cord for the photographer. Yeah. And very important job, you know, but now I am like my art director, stylist, photographer. I've added videography because of, you know, reels becoming so important on social media. So yeah, it's lovely to be able to, you know, take a project from concept to delivery and be in charge of every aspect. But you would sometimes miss the collaborative effort and that, you know, large team working with you. But my clients are great, and they're great to get involved on the day. So that makes it a fun experience. And then I suppose the similarities of Ireland and the US, no matter where you go, I've learned it's all about who you know and the importance of networking and making that good impression and working really hard, you know, going out and doing your absolute best for your client. Okay. It doesn't matter where you go. That's always been, you know, important.
So can you tell us about the different types of services that you offer?
Yeah, so for brands coming to me that are looking for their photography for their website or their social media, I will come in and have a walkthrough with you and hear about what you're looking for. And then I'll come back and I'll create, you know, the art direction for the photo shoot through mood boards. I'll send you a proposal, and then following that sign off, if there's props required, I'll source them. On a lot of shoots, I like to use like natural elements. So like lots of greenery and flowers. And then I will, if the shoot is in my studio, if it's a product, I can do a lot in studio, but some are on location, which I love because I get to go out and meet local businesses and work with a team as well. And they're also really excited about seeing how the whole process works. So I'm a natural light photographer, so I'll work with the light. So we'll start in the room that, you know, gets the most light and work our way around. It's always, I suppose, going in and stripping back and then adding it and building it and adding the props. And I suppose once the scene is set, getting all the various shots required. So your kind of wider angle for your banners, and then for social media, you're looking for more kind of your square images for your Instagram grid, and then also kind of your more longer vertical shots for your reel covers. So I suppose there's a lot going on in the day. You know, you're kind of trying to balance the styling with the photography and making sure that you're getting all the shots required. And then, of course, videography comes in as well. So just trying to capture some movement throughout the shots as well. And then trying to get all the shots on that day on location. So you move fairly quickly, but there's a great buzz on shoot days, and the client feeds off that too. Exactly, and it's great to see their excitement and how proud they are of their business too, and seeing it in like, you know, seeing it through fresh eyes. And then comes the editing. I'm such a creative that, like, I suppose the editing process for me is a bit, and I did try and outsource it once or twice, but I'm such a perfectionist and probably a control freak that it took so long to communicate what I wanted, Geraldine, that it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, I know,
So now I just do it. And I suppose like sometimes a client will want reels made as well. Sometimes they'll just want the clips. So that is kind of a lengthy process. You know, it's part of it all. And it's really exciting when you share it with the client.
Okay.
And I suppose then they launch it on their website and social media. And I suppose seeing the reaction it gets from the public is great. And then another type of styling that I offer is personal styling. So be it wardrobe edits or styling outfits with the clothes you already have, or spotting bits that you might need to create those looks. Or if you have a special event. Luckily, I've been, you know, so busy on the branding side of things. The personal styling thing is still something that I'm, I suppose, looking to expand on, but all in good time. I have 2 small girls, and there doesn't ever seem to be enough time.
I know.
Lots of opportunity there and lots of time.
Lots of room for expansion.
Lots of room for expansion.
Very good. Okay. And how would you describe your style? What do you take inspiration from?
So I suppose when it comes to my own personal style, it's changed a lot. And I think after having children, it even changed again. I suppose, you know, you're dealing with a whole new body shape. And I must say I struggled a lot to try and find my style after kids. And it just takes a while. And it was happening all through COVID. That's when I kind of had my babies. So everyone lost their style. There was all like leggings and tracksuits. And I suppose now we're a while out of it, and we're back to buying, I suppose, more, you know, your staple pieces. So that's what I'm kind of investing in now, like lovely jeans, a good blazer, good quality shoes. And then I have fun with my accessories.
Okay.
But yeah, I've really changed and gone for more of the kind of capsule dressing.
Okay.
And then I suppose weekend style, we're living in West Cork, so it's always going to be very like relaxed and kind of outdoor friendly. But I think you can still look, you know, fashionable through, you know, hat wear or, you know, a nice kind of gilet or whatever over your hoodie or leggings. There's ways to kind of have fun.
I've never seen you look bad anyway. Even when you're out walking, I'm like, God, look at her. She looks amazing.
Sure. Thank you for that. But no, I do love it. And I suppose that's what I'm trying to come back to more and more. I suppose, as you heard, it all began with fashion for me. So I suppose I would just love to develop the personal styling even more, because I suppose that's where the passion for fashion began. Do you remember that passion for fashion? TG Carr.
Very good.
So yeah.
And in terms of, say, product styling, how would you describe your style for that?
Yeah, I suppose for brand styling, I'm very natural in my approach. As I said, I'm a natural light photographer. I like to use, you know, lots of, you know, natural elements like greenery and flowers. And then my props always have lots of texture. So, you know, be it mohair throws or like rattan baskets or nice wooden earthy tones, props like that, just to bring out the kind of natural elements and not to take, I suppose, too much of the shine off the product that you're highlighting. You know, luckily there's just some amazing brands that I've worked with here in West Cork. And I suppose after being away you appreciate, you know, and what Ireland has to offer and the craftsmanship in these products and the quality of the products. I really like the brands that I can kind of focus on the kind of heritage styling, you know, and tell that story of, and I suppose the experience you can have when staying in these private homes that I style. And then for like, you know, product styling, I think it's always less is more. It's always, you know, using kind of more natural elements so that the product can really stand out. We're so lucky that we've got so many amazing products here locally to work with.
Very good. What is your process when working on a project? You mentioned there that you use mood boards. Do you also veer towards digital side of things, or is it mainly mood boards that you would go?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a mix. So I'll begin with a walkthrough, figure out, you know, their wants and needs, and then I'll come back and I'll start, you know, brainstorming on how I could see this photo shoot going and what could really highlight their business. So I'll begin mood boarding on Pinterest and just adding loads of shots, and you can get carried away on that easily. And I always try and like go back then and just call it images and really come back to like what I think is right for that client, because the client can get overwhelmed by so many images too. So then I'll put that into like a media proposal that I'll always use Canva for. I feel Canva is a great tool, even for planning your posts on social media. So I'll put that forward for the client to review, and it's always met with great feedback. So that'll be the plan for the photo shoot. And then if there's props, you know, needed to be sourced, you know, I'll do that, and the date is set, and that's how it all begins.
Okay. And the relationship there with your customer, it's obviously very important as they're trusting you to visualize their product in the best possible light. What is your process for balancing a client's existing brand identity with creating something new and fresh? Is your process negotiated with the client or dictated by the client?
It's very much a collaborative effort. You're like you said, I meet with them, and you know, a brand, if someone's brand is so personal, so you know, you're definitely, you know, all ears and listening to them on what's important, what they want highlighted, but they're also hiring you for your expertise.
Yes. Yeah.
And with a lot of these smaller brands, you know, they wouldn't have the budget dedicated to a whole like marketing team. So I suppose they're looking to you to come up with everything that their marketing requires. That's something that I'm happy to do for them.
Okay. It's very much collaboration as such.
Yeah. And then they get involved on the shoot day. A lot of clients, I know, especially on location, they love to get involved on the shoot days. And it's great fun seeing it through their eyes. You know, as well.
Okay. And can you share some behind the scene insights into how to plan and execute a branding photo shoot?
Yeah, so I will, as I said, I use Pinterest to mood board, and then I'll use Canva for my client proposal. And then it'll, you know, I'll go to my go-tos. Like I have my own props kind of built up over the years, but sometimes it requires extra. So like for interior styling, the client may specify that they want, you know, new soft furnishings. So I'll go and I'll purchase them. I actually recently reached out to an Irish brand, and it's something I want to do more and more of, because I suppose in the States you were just, you know, buying. But here I think there's so many amazing brands that you could collaborate with and use on photo shoots. So I used John Hanley's beautiful throws. He's based in Tipperary on like a period home that we were styling. And it just added like a beautiful, like, again, natural element and texture to the shots. And the fact that it was, you know, an Irish brand featuring in another Irish brand, there was like a lovely collaboration there. So it's definitely something I want to do more of, because we've got some amazing producers here.
Make the most of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And establishing a strong personal brand image on social media is crucial for business owners, especially ones in a creative field. Can you describe your process for defining and maintaining your own personal brand?
It's an area everyone struggles with. But I suppose if I'm offering brands, you know, how to overhaul their social media, my own needs to look right.
Yeah.
So something that I started recently is batch making content and scheduling it in advance. And it's a great tip. Like I feel, you know, if you have a day or two between gigs, you need to focus on your marketing. And I've started putting even a folder together on my phone of like behind the scenes content, anything that I could use to market my brand so that I'm not having to go back through a ton of photos in my phone. And batch maker content, and then Instagram allows you. I remember I used to buy all these apps for scheduling content, but Instagram has become so good at being able to offer all of that. So yeah, scheduling your posts, 2 and 3 weeks, a month, ideally ahead of time, so that you're consistently posting, not like too much, but I think, once or twice a week. Obviously, Instagram wants you posting videos daily, but that's just hard to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what I do. That's my approach. And I also recently divided my personal styling and brand styling. I think I'm kind of a perfectionist, and it was nearly inhibiting me posting, because I was like, if someone looking for brand styling, let's say for their hotel, is coming onto my page and they see how to style a shirt, it was kind of like a mixed message. I think you need to be able to see what that person is selling very clearly in the first, 9 photos. So I moved the personal styling aside, and now I feel like there's this freedom again. There's no confusion, and it's not inhibiting me posting anymore. And obviously staying cohesive in my aesthetic on social media, that kind of heritage, natural, focusing on Irish designers and I suppose the beauty of West Cork. I just love to highlight all of that.
Very good.
Yeah.
And what do you think are the most common mistakes people make in styling, be it in personal style, brand styling, or in interior styling?
I'm not one to critique, no, but I think it's so personal, and everyone is unique. But I will say, I suppose, in this whole social media age where there's influencers selling something every second minute, I've seen so many clients fall down that rabbit hole of just buying something they saw influencer Amy wear, and they bring it back and they've nothing in their wardrobe that it goes with, or it mightn't even suit them.
Exactly, yeah.
So I suppose a rule of thumb I always say is, do 2 edits a season of your closet, get everything out and put all your product, your pieces together. So be it your tops, and then buy pattern. And a client recently had 12 stripy tops, and she was on her list to buy was stripy tops. And I was like, well, now we clearly see you don't need stripy tops. So there's that. And also, I suppose a good guide is, whatever you want to purchase, can you make 3 outfits out of that piece without having to buy anything else, is a good rule of thumb.
And in terms of brand styling?
Brand styling, again, I suppose coming back to social media, it's so important that you kind of get a sense of that brand on their page. It's your shop front these days. So just kind of keeping your look cohesive and consistent, be it your, coloring, typography, whatever you use, that it just represents your brand well. And then I suppose in terms of interiors, clutter. It's free. It's the biggest, it has a huge impact without costing you anything. Just declutter and let the room speak. And then you can go back and add in, but always just strip back first.
Okay, good tip there. I agree with you 100% on the clutter. And what kind of equipment do you use? Cameras, lights and lenses. You mentioned there that you spoke to some photographer friends and they gave you some advice there and maybe getting stuff that was versatile.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a Canon mirrorless Canon EOS R, and then my lens is a zoom lens 24 to 70 millimeters. So it can do your close-up food photography with a lovely blurred background, or it can take your interior photography, big rooms, also portraits. So, camera equipment is expensive. So this way I can shoot all different subjects. So yeah, great advice from them.
Very good, very good. And with your photography, do you do post-processing to get the look and feel that you want, or is the look created in the setup with minimal editing done afterwards? You mentioned there you're not a fan of the whole editing.
Yeah, it's so important, especially when you're a natural light photographer. And if I'm at a location where I suppose the rooms are darker, you definitely need your kind of processing to kick in. And I use Adobe Lightroom for that. I'll usually take 3 different exposures and then merge them afterwards. But I definitely try and stay as natural as possible. I I'm a stylist first and foremost. So it's all about setting up the scene from the beginning and getting the look and feel. And then I suppose tweaking the light afterwards.
Okay. It's all about the setup. Okay, very good. And is Instagram and social media the most important tool at your disposal to get the word out about your business? Or does the more traditional route of word of mouth play a part?
It's funny, it's definitely a mix, but I think styling for brands, it's definitely been word of mouth and referral based. And on the personal styling side of things, it's definitely more social media. But, you know, as I said, in the States, it was all about who you know and your relationships with people. So it's just so important. It's definitely something I want to focus more on, networking.
Okay.
You know, so many of my clients have come on a referral basis. And even other creatives in the industry who have, you know, been working with clients have recommended me. So that's been lovely. So yeah, definitely. And I suppose when you're from like a small community like Clan, you know, it's very much about, you know, your relationships and networking.
Okay, very good. You're currently in the middle of building your own house with effectively a blank canvas to style. Do you have to rein yourself in with a project like that, or is it full steam ahead?
Oh, I wish there was like a limitless budget. It's a crazy time to be building. And, you know, I suppose what I'm concentrating on is getting, you know, the big things right. So I obsessed over the roof. We did like a standing seam roof and I obsessed over the windows, like these slim black windows. And now that they're all in, I suppose I'm moving on to the next. But getting, I suppose, the things that will be there for a long time right.
Yeah.
And I suppose all the soft furnishings, everything like that can be done down the line.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's been quite confronting, you know, I suppose as a stylist, in my eye for things, like my perfectionistic tendencies, it's been hard when it's your own house.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just excited to get in there now and really start making it a home.
I suppose like the most important thing is to get the big things right. As you say, the things that can't be changed or would be difficult to change. And the rest, you can just add your flair as you go.
Yeah. You know, we flipped a house in Boston and it was all about, you know, there's ways to do things on a budget as well, you know, and that's where I suppose you see your true talent come into play, you know, how you can make it look expensive on a smaller budget.
Exactly. Okay. And if you were starting out again, what advice would the present you give the past you?
I suppose when it comes to, you know, setting up my own business here, I suppose all those like self-doubt moments, I heard of something actually on social media and it was take the actions of the person that you want to become would take and don't wait for your feelings. So like, you know, if you want to have your own styling and photography business, you know, start doing the work and the paid work will come. You know, I suppose I have the experience. It's just, you know, that ego getting in the way. And I suppose just, you know, believing in yourself. And then it's so hard as, you know, I suppose a female owned business, every time you have a child and you go on your maternity leave, you know, it's like starting all over again from scratch. So you're off for 9-10 months, you know, there's no one else to keep the show on the road. So it's like you're relaunching a business all over again.
Yeah.
But there's no more babies now for ever. No, we're full steam ahead now on Michelle Coughlan Enterprises.
Very good, very good. And could you share any advice or tips for individuals looking to pursue a career in styling, especially in a smaller market like Ireland?
Well, I would say definitely just get your experience. It's always going to be unpaid. But if you're really passionate about it, you know, get out and start assisting people on shoots and see, do you like it? Also, like you can't ignore the experience you can gain internationally working for these big brands, big budgets. It's amazing exposure and experience. And I credit so much of it to where I am now.
Okay. What are your future plans?
So I suppose my plans for the future. So I definitely want to work on networking more. You know, I suppose we're long out of COVID now, and I definitely need to integrate into more creative groups and seeing what's out there. Because I really enjoyed that in the States, especially when you work for yourself. I also want to upskill. There's been a lot of clients asking for drone photography.
Yes.
So it's something I want to add to my kit and skill set. And I suppose I also want to develop the personal styling side of the business. That's where really my true passion lies. I think having the mix of both is fab, you know, being able to help brands and learn about these amazing businesses, but also having that kind of intimate personal styling relationship.
Okay.
It's kind of the best of both, really.
That's it. That's it. Exactly. That's great. Well, thank you so much, Michelle, for joining us on the Cork Creative Podcast. If you want to find more about Michelle and her styling services, you can find links to her socials and website on corkcreative.ie.
Thanks so much.